Beck, can you see me?
I can. How are you today?
I'm a little bit I don't know. I fly on Saturday and I just don't feel very ready.
Fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
just
I never feel ready before flying.
I'm going to be away from home for my first. It's going to be my first tour doing this new show with a solo electric, and so I want to try and make sure it's quite different from the last tour. So I'm just making playlists for before the show and after the show, and I've got this ancient iPod
Hmm.
which I love because I can use it without having to have anything to do with iTunes or
Yeah.
Apple Music or anything. But I've forgotten how to make the playlists shuffle within themselves so that every day the sound engineer just needs to put on the pre-playlist and then it'll play the same songs but in different orders so that we don't always hear it exactly the same every day.
Fair
And
enough.
it take me 15 minutes to work that out, but I
Yeah,
did.
right.
So
It's the problem with old technology, right? Is because you forget how to use it.
you do well. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's my problem with almost all technology, and in that I quite often get deep into a project where I know exactly what I'm doing. I finish the project, and then maybe I have to go back and do a remix 8 months later.
Yep.
I have I haven't a clue how anything works.
Yeah,
I
I
re-
hear
I
you.
retain I retain almost nothing. It seems in my old age, and it seems like that kind of retention thing. You almost do feel like you've only got so much room in your brain, and
Yep.
you kind of get it pretty close to full around 50, I think.
Yeah. Well, I've just hit that age, so I'm looking at the things that like fall out every now and then. It's just like, oh, that was supposed to stay, right?
Yeah.
That was supposed to stay. Um, so everybody, we've got Lloyd Cole here today. He's about to go out on tour in Australia. And so we'll jump into the questions I have for you.
Please.
So you have just touched that you're back out on a tour where you've gone electric again. So what made you feel that it maybe was the right time to plug the Telecaster back in again?
But there's a few things. One, which is the sort of practical side of things, is that I've been turning down festivals for years because the one or two times I ever got up there with an acoustic guitar on one of those stages, it was always just a nightmare. I mean, not just difficult, but sometimes almost impossible. I don't know how people do it with an acoustic guitar. They're better than I am. Um, so a lot of opportunities I had to turn down. And I just thought I got, I just last year sometime I was thinking, well, the problem is the monitoring the acoustic. And if I just had my own amp next to me, surely all I'd need to be able to hear was the vocal, and we can do that. So there was that. And then I got thinking about it, and I just don't know how I managed to be touring for 25 years acoustically when I never really thought of myself as a folk singer. And I think the acoustic guitar is loaded with connotations: protest singer, folk singer, introspection. And I don't really want any of those tags attached to me.
Yep.
I really, so I think I quite like to hear that the last way people will see me is with the electric guitar, even if I'm not with the band very often. I play with the
Yep.
band in Europe a few times, but I don't have we don't have the economics in place to bring the
Mhm.
band to Australia, which is a drag. But here we are. That's where we're at.
I think the fans will be very grateful just to get you in any which way form you come anyway, down under.
I do love cover, and uh, it's been. I think it was about 2000 or 2001 when I got an offer to go back to Australia. The Commotions played down there once in '86, and I don't know what we did wrong, but we didn't get invited back. Um, and by 2000, I'd given up hope of being invited back, and I was a little bit sad about it because you know, it's a lovely place to come to. And then, yeah, Tim Pittman brought me down in 2000, 2001. I've been coming back every 2 or 3 years ever since. And I'm it's a blessing to me. And usually I get to come down to visit you when the weather's really horrible here.
Yeah, which is a plus, right? Having hemispheres in the world. You can definitely dodge weather.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me on to the next one. So you've gone electric because, some of your I read somewhere that some of your um songs you've sort of gone, well, just the acoustic doesn't quite do them justice. When you revisit, say, for example, the albums from the Commotions days, do they feel like a snapshot of the time, or do you think that they're a little bit more evergreen than that?
I think Rattlesnakes is pretty evergreen. I think
I,
Easy People is slightly less evergreen, and I think Mainstream's even less. I think we got worse and worse the longer we went on. But luckily, I don't think we ever got to the point where we weren't good, but we got incredibly lucky on the first record. Um, there are certain songs from those records that if I try to sing them now, it's a little awkward. So generally, I don't sing those ones.
yep,
Um, and there are other ones which, if I were to have to sing them every night, every year, they might wear me out. But those are the ones that I put on sabbatical every couple of years and then bring them out a couple of years later.
yep,
And then there are songs like Are You Ready to Be Heartbroken or Forest Fire, 2CV that I can sing every night and they just feel like I just wrote them.
yep, yep. Um, so you were talking about building a playlist, so building a set list.
Both.
Yes.
I, because my show is two sets, and people arrive in the auditorium, there's music playing, so I've got to make sure that that's the music that I want them to be listening to.
Hmm.
One of I think I it was probably in the late 90s or early 2000s that I realized that this was necessary because I think I was playing some club in America, I think, and the local people seemed to have this idea that if they played music that's kind of like mine
Mm.
to the audience, that would be a good idea. And that couldn't be a worse idea for a concert. The
Hmm.
last thing you want to do is go on stage to something that's very similar to what you're about to do. You want what you're about to do to seem special.
Yep.
Uh, uh, and so curating the playlists is always fun. Um, and I try and keep it to stuff that doesn't sound anything like me. And my one rule this year is that I'm not going to go on stage and try and sing after Scott Walker. He can sing after me, but I'm not
Yep.
going to try and follow Scott.
Yeah, fair
Uh,
enough.
and the other thing I just thought, given that it's solo electric, but obviously there's no band, I thought it might be just quite nice to just have no drums whatsoever in any of the music. So none of the curated songs have any drums in, and it's been quite fun to put together a playlist. So there's classical stuff, there's folk stuff, there's
Yep.
there's Nico singing with Velvet Underground without drums. Yeah, so that's what I was just doing there.
That would be quite a challenge trying to find, in particular, I guess, in the rock genre, anything without drums.
That's because that's fine with me. There's very little in the rock genre in
Yep.
my play.
That's great. So let's talk about touring now versus touring, in your earlier years. What do you find your relationship with your audience how do you find your relationship with your audience has changed from back then to now?
Well, it's changed massively, and the big change really was in the late '90s when my relationship with the sort of the mainstream industry disintegrated, and I found myself not unemployed because I certainly had a great following around the world still, but in a position where I was not even sure if I wanted to make records for a while. So I went out. That was when I started playing the acoustic shows as my main source of income. Prior to that, every tour I'd been on had always been to promote an album. And when we started out playing with the Commotions, I didn't even consider myself really a performer. I felt like we were just going out and we were reciting the pieces that we created. Um, but in the late 90s, like I said, I found myself getting more job satisfaction than I expected from going out and delivering a show and knowing that if I did a good show, I would get well paid and people would probably want to come back and see me again. It felt a bit better than taking money from a record company for an album that I hadn't even written yet. So then I met Jill Sobule. I don't know if you know Jill, but she died last year.
Yep, I have heard of her. Yep.
And she joined my band, The Negatives, in the late 90s. And she was just an amazing live performer that really brought the audience to her. She really made the room her own, but she made the audience feel like they were part of things, even though she was always in complete control of the room. And I grew a little bit in awe of how she could do that. And in the decades following that, I think I just became more of a singer, more of a performer, less of a reciter. And to do that, you have to connect with the audience. And so I would say it couldn't be more different now to how it was at the beginning. It's completely different.
Yep. Um, that is let's move on to your most recent release or your most recent releases. Um, they carry a more reflective tone, dealing with themes that are quite heavy. Um, I mean, the obvious answer is, as you get older, you start thinking about different themes. Um, you sorry, my words are leaving me right now, which is not fair because I'm in an
No,
interview. All
no,
right.
it happens. It will happen to me, I'm sure, at some point.
Um, so they've got quite heavy themes. So adding those to your set list, how do you go about doing that with balancing those quite weighty topics with keeping the show dynamic and moving and sort of, not having a dip in energy?
Um, there's there's a fair amount of choreography and theatre in the presentation, even though I'm just standing there. Like I said, the way that Jill would do it, you need to keep the audience wrapped, basically. You can't let them nod off. You can't give them a break. They have to be either listening intently or applauding. Um, so so you find ways to present the songs as beautifully as you can. And I played in Stockholm 3 or 4 years ago. A good friend of mine, a musician, was there, and after the show, um, he said, "Oh, On Pain, the best song in the whole set." My wife said so, and I said, "Oh, lovely, that's nice." That somebody didn't really know my music, but gravitated right to the. Then it was an acoustic version of a song, which is an electronic song. I don't see the songs as being weightier so much. I mean, Why I Love Country Music on Easy Pieces is pretty dark. I think there's always been. I feel like there's always been light and shade in my work. Maybe there's a little bit more shade right now, but I don't consider that a challenge. The challenge really has been, how can you play these songs that you wrote on keyboards and synthesizers? How can you play them on the
Yes.
guitar?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
that is a challenge. But it was a challenge when I first tried to play Forest Fire in a solo context. I didn't think that song could be played as a solo song, and yet obviously it can now, and I've played it for decades. So I think if the song is strong enough, then an arrangement will present itself to me. even if it sometimes takes a few years to
Yeah,
present.
yeah. I think also as a solo performer, there's a lot less space to hide, or there's a lot more space on stage, but a lot less space to hide, right?
There's nowhere to hide, and the I mean the idea is to get up there and look like you're completely spontaneous and that you're absolutely brilliant. You just picked up a guitar and you haven't really thought about it. You just wrote the songs. Here you are playing them. I've been practicing since August.
Hmm.
Um, I've been working on my electric playing because I haven't played that much electric guitar in the last 20 years. So, and I'm still nowhere near where I want to be because I can't really get to the next stage until I actually get in front of an audience
Hmm.
and see how does this work. I've been There's an open mic at a bar down the street from me. I've played 3 songs at the open mic a few times.
Yeah,
That's the only
yeah,
audience in front of with the electric guitar.
yeah,
I'll be, in a couple of days, I'll be in New Zealand in front of hundreds or thousands of people.
yeah. How does an open mic go? Do people recognize you and start do they
in
do
the,
that,
in
or are
the,
you in a
in
small
the,
enough town that it just doesn't, no one registers, just that guy from up the road who's, you know, got a few
I'm
guitars.
I'm mostly just that guy from up the road, but the people who run the open mic do know of what I do. Um, I think the musicians who run it, I don't think they know. And a guy came up to me last week and said, "I think I'm the only guy here who knows those songs."
Right.
uh, it's I think it's quite a good challenge, especially the challenge um, for playing festivals because
Mm,
playing a festival is very very different to playing a concert of my own, and I have to recognize that when I play my own concerts, I expect that most of the audience will know the majority of the songs that I play.
hmm.
And when I play a festival, most of the audience won't know any of the songs that I play, or they might know 2 or 3 ones that were on the radio 25 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. So, so after touring for over 40 years, is there anything that you get when touring that makes you just stop and it reminds you why you do what you do?
Pretty much every night, if it goes well and the audience are standing up
Amazing. Yeah,
after I've finished, the standing ovation is pretty moving. Um,
yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, my goal in life with my work is to create stuff that makes other people's lives richer. And if I can do that, and if people thank me for it by standing up and applauding, showing that my music does mean something to them, then yeah, yeah, almost every night.
It's amazing. It's
It is.
amazing.
It's it's not always the easiest job. Travel is not always fun and doesn't get easier as you get older. Um, but yeah, yeah, knowing that my music has done for people all around the world what my hero's music did for me, more or less, yeah, is still wonderful.
That's great. It's must give you the it would give you the impetus to keep going, and what I'm creating is making like a difference to a small difference to people's lives, and bringing them that little bit of enjoyment, through your music.
Yeah, I mean, that's other than the fact that I have to make a living. I'm very
There is
lucky.
that too.
I'm very lucky that I get to make a living doing something which is that rewarding. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to have to wrap it up, or else they're going to chase me out of here. Um, I would just like to talk about I would like to relate my experience when I first encountered your work, which was in 1985.
Okay.
And my aunt gave me 3 albums: Rattlesnakes, Rum, Sodomy, and the Lash.
Oh, nice.
And In Excess's Listen Like Thieves.
Pretty good aunt.
I know she's amazing. She has introduced me to some amazing music. Um, and I remember just listening to Rattlesnakes and thinking, what is this? This is nothing I've heard. In 1984, this is nothing I've heard because obviously we were right in the thick of the New Romantics and, that sort of really synthesized pop. Um, how do you feel with Rattlesnakes now and the fact that it is literally everybody's, you know, oh, Lloyd Cole,
Well,
Rattlesnakes,
yeah, yeah. It was just we were just very very lucky with that record. We had some very strong ideas about what we wanted to do, and we didn't have very many bad songs. And the one that wasn't that good that we recorded, we were lucky enough to not include on the album. Um, and and you know, I don't think it's a particularly radical sounding record. It uses the same elements as a lot of rock and roll pop records did. It may have sounded a little different in 1984 because of the environment at that time. But I loved being on the same radio station as ABC
Mm,
and Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Soft Cell. I loved all those records as well.
mm,
It just that was what we did, and that sound we just yeah. I mean, really, we just got lucky.
yeah. It's an
And
amazing album though.
sometimes you get unlucky. Sometimes you make a great record and it's at the wrong time. Um, my second solo record came out when Manchester was going on in the UK,
Yep.
and yeah, a lot of people didn't even know it'd come out. You know,
Hmm.
so it's not you're not always lucky, and you have to remember. Because I play golf, and that's another reason I love coming to Australia. It really
Yep.
is the best
We've
place
got
to
some good golf courses.
yeah, you've got generally good weather to play it in. But
Yes.
in golf, there's an awful lot of luck involved, and you'd be amazed how the really good players they never seem to remember when they got lucky. They only remember the bad luck, and you've got to remind yourself of the good luck when you play
Mm,
golf because you're going to get some bad luck every now and again. But every now and again, you're going to hit a ball that's going out of bounds and it hits a tree and goes into the fairway, and you make a birdie and you absolutely didn't deserve it.
hmm.
And other times, things will happen to you that you are not so good that you absolutely don't deserve. So I think it's actually a good thing for life, playing golf, dealing with the fact that the the world, generally speaking, is a fickle place.
Yep. And I've been told golf is good for teaching you to deal well with frustration.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the very fact that I didn't quit the game means I must be dealing with the frustration
Yep.
reasonably well.
Oh, you're very tenacious.
I do actually, I do like competing. I don't understand people who just say, "Let's just knock it around." It's like, no,
Mm,
we're having a match.
yep. Anyway, I must wrap it up. It has been absolutely delightful to talk to you today, and I hope to come and see your show when you're in Australia.
Which city are you in?
I'm in Brisbane,
Oh yeah, well, I am definitely there. Is it the
and
Tivoli?
it is the Tivoli. Have you played the Tivoli before?
I think I have because the name rings a bell. So, but I
It's
haven't
a
played it for a while. That's for sure. I played the G something last time I was there, which was more like a concert hall.
yeah. Hmm. It may have closed down.
Yeah, it's called
Um,
something G Met or something.
yeah.
Uh,
The,
um,
the Tivoli
anyhow,
is beautiful. It's beautiful Art Deco, has some of the
oh
best acoustics in any concert hall in Brisbane.
well, I'm looking forward to it very much, and I will. Yeah, I will. I'll prepare myself for the humidity.